Yes, sir.
All right, today I am joined with the one and only Justin Hill. Jay Hill, it's been a rough week for you, huh? A little bit.
You know, since Sunday night, yes, but it's been good at the same time during this process, just like reflecting and seeing what fans have to say, especially me being from New York. But how have you been, man?
I've been doing pretty good, staying busy, staying up to date with everything that you've been doing as well. Love to see what the content you've been putting out as well. This is like a little bit of a venting session. We'll talk mostly about New York sports. I'll pick your brain a little bit on that. More specifically, we're gonna dive right into it. We'll address the elephant in the room. Juan Soto leaving the New York Yankees, taking a 15-year, $765 million contract with the New York Mets. He's just going right down the street, Justin. Let's just get in your brain a little bit here.
First of all, I like what you're doing as well, what you're doing, with the Big East and podcasts and this and that. But let's just get right into it. This was a deal that was shocking to many sports fans across the world, many New Yorkers, especially when you look at the process of this contract. This guy got $765 million, a $75 million signing bonus that made him the highest paid base player in league history. And on top of that, he got over league average based upon $46 million, meaning that
Mhm.
he's gonna be getting every single dollar and every single cent. And you look at Shohei Ohtani's contract, he's getting deferred payments. This guy's not getting deferred payments. And when I look at this contract, it's an overpay. It's an overpay because number one, this guy is not worth $765 million. Before he was traded to the New York Yankees, when he went to play for your San Diego Padres during 2020, mid 2022, 2023, Shohei Ohtani's value was worth, sorry, Juan Soto's value was
Mhm.
only worth between $450 million and 500 until he got traded to the New York Yankees into the most media market in the world. I'm from New York City. You're from Connecticut. That's only
Yep.
40 minutes away from you. And top of that, he got almost between $700 million. And on
Mhm.
top of that, he demanded $65 million more to where he's a Yankee, to where he's a Met. And when I look at this contract here, when I look at Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman, they did everything possible. This was not on them. For years, Yankee fans, including myself, they have blamed the organization dating back to 2018 in the winter when they missed Manny Machado and Bryce Harper, knowing that they
Mhm.
could have afforded those two at the time. When they looked at this scenario here, the fans are coming out on Twitter, Instagram, every single social media. They're not even blaming management. They're blaming Juan Soto. Why? Because he never wanted to be a New York Yankee. This was all about money. It was all about money for him and all about what he represented. Scott Boras trained him well for the last 8 years of him being his client. He's been Scott Boris's client since he was in the Dominican Republic when he was 16 years old. They automatically trained him for this moment. But the fact of the matter is that the fact that you declined 70, $60 million, some of the greatest franchises in sports
Mhm.
history, and to not only use that franchise to benefit your value, I don't know what to say. I got to hear what you have to say.
Listen, I think we talked a little bit when the free agency actually happened. We talked a little bit about it, and what I thought and what I took away and what I've gathered is that you're right. It was about the money. It wasn't about legacy. And when you go to New York and you want to play for the Yankees, the winningest, World Series, most World Series by any franchise. You look at the history, the pinstripe so iconic in the brand of the New York Yankees. He didn't want to be there. He didn't want his legacy to be there forever. He didn't want to be in Monument Park once he retired. It was strictly about the money. And, that $5 million difference between what the Mets were going to give him versus the Yankees, I think that's what solidified it right there, is that he wanted the money at the end of the day. And and honestly, kind of looking back into this all, the Mets offered him a suite too for his family. I mean, how many Yankees have been
You
given a
know,
suite?
yeah, with the whole sweet situation, I was about to jump into that. Derek
Mhm.
Jeter, one of the greatest Yankees of all time, he
Mhm.
had to pay for his suite. Aaron Judge currently, he had to pay for his suite. I know a family member of mine who used to work at Yankee Stadium, used to work in the suite lounge at Yankee Stadium. They told me that the players' families, they're all gathered together during the games.
Hmm.
Whether you're down below in the legend seats in 100 level or whether you're in the suite. They own two suites. The Yankees, they allow these family members to go in to three of the suites that they allow family members into. I don't know what the big production was about a suite for this guy. And the fact of the matter is that not only you got a free suite the Mets, how are these Met families going to react to that?
Hmm. No, that's a really good point. You're looking at like guys like Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor. What about their families, right? How is Juan Soto going to come in here and get that special type of treatment? You're right. That's a really good point. I didn't really think of it that way. And I think that's very valid because you
Not to
look
only
at.
think about that point before what
Mhm.
you're about to say. Yeah, and not to only think about what you're about to say is that, Pete Alonso has been the Mets franchise leader for the past 6 seasons. He
Mhm.
sent that team to the National League Division Series for the first time since 2015. The Mets franchise put their main focus in a basket for Juan Soto, and they didn't even focus one bit on Pete Alonso during his free agency. So what does that say about the franchise? They don't care.
Hmm. They don't. I think it's gonna be interesting. Are you gonna be at the Subway Series?
I told my friend of mine who lives in my building now, I'm never gonna go to a Yankees game ever again after what happened with the whole World Series and Aaron Boone having a job. But in this case, yeah, I have to be at
Hmm.
that game. I have to be at that game. I have to be at that game because he is literally the most not wanted man in New York City. He might be the most hated player in New York City history. Like I can't think of an athlete in because I'm 23 years old. In my lifetime, the most hated athletes in New York was Odell Beckham Jr.
Hmm.
The way he left, Trae Young currently, just many names. Kyrie Irving, the way he left, and Kevin Durant. But now Juan Soto is in that New York establishment as to he may be the most hated player in New York City history by far. And before you say anything here, like when I look at Juan Soto, yes, this man is generational talent, but he's no Alex Rodriguez.
Mm.
Alex Rodriguez plays shortstop and third base. That's generational talent. Okay. When
Hmm.
they mention Shohei Ohtani right now, currently that's generational talent. I disagree. Why? Because he's like Shohei is not only generational talent, he's the greatest thing that happened to baseball since Babe Ruth. And
Hmm.
then when I look at Juan Soto in this scenario here, like you're gonna join Francisco Lindor besides playing with Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is probably one of the greatest hitters since Barry Bonds.
Hmm.
Right or wrong?
Hey, Aaron Judge had a good regular season, but he didn't show up in the postseason for the Yankees. Who did? It was Juan Soto. Juan Soto showed up. Giancarlo Stanton showed up, but Aaron Judge didn't. That game five, I think is what set Juan Soto over the edge to be like, you know what? I can't be here. He said he hasn't even talked to the guy since game five of the World Series. I mean, what do you kind of take from that? Is that from that his press conference the other day being like he hasn't talked to the guys. There's no communication.
I think when the press conference yesterday, where he referred to as I haven't spoken to the guys, I
Hmm.
think he never had any communication with those players when he was a Yankee for almost 6 or 7 months. I truly believe that. I looked at a photo of Aaron Judge, what he posted on Instagram when it was all the team members on the team. And you know who was out of the photo? It was Juan Soto. I truly believe Juan Soto's main goal as a Yankee was just going to his 3 p.m. job to midnight
Hmm.
just every single day. That was his main job. And in the weekends when you have your early morning games from 9 a.m. to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, he was just about business. He didn't care about having no friendships whatsoever, this guy. And the point of the matter is that he never wanted to be a Yankee. This guy, like, When he left the Washington Nationals, he thanked the fans on via social
Mhm.
media. When he
Mhm.
left the San Diego Padres, he thanked the fans via social media. He hasn't thanked the Yankee fans via social media. So this guy clearly never wanted to be a New York Yankee. And the fact of the matter is, this may be right here, this hat that I'm pointing, right?
Yep.
This may be the most valuable hat in all of sports. The most fitted hat that everybody wears. When you think about baseball, when you think about a sports franchise that's valuable, you think about this team here. This guy didn't want that. He didn't want that because he didn't want to be a Yankee at the end of the day. And he didn't want to be the monkey on the back to Aaron Judge. He wanted his own team in Queens. That's all it was.
Justin, I even have a Yankees fitted hat. And yeah, that's me. That's coming from me. That's how popular the brand is. Do you think it's gonna be when he comes back and the Yankees Mets play in next May? You think it's gonna be like Kyrie Irving coming back to Boston? It's gonna be that kind of level of the fandom of the hatred towards him?
It's gonna be worse than Kyrie Irving. It's
Worse.
gonna be worse than it's gonna be worse than Kyrie Irving. It's gonna be worse than LeBron James. You know why?
Why?
Because Boston is Boston. Ohio's Ohio. New York is New York. People will
Hmm.
throw something on the field. That's just a fact. I don't promote violence whatsoever, what it may
Of
be,
course.
but at the end of the day, these fans took this thing personal. You're
Hmm.
seeing, you know, Jeff Passan, a guy that we all follow,
Hmm.
our reliable source. Know that there's a lot of sources that we have to believe in baseball. He's the main guy we believe in baseball. And when I saw Jeff Passan say that the Yankees dodged a bullet, I'm saying to myself, wow, I've never seen a most reliable source like Jeff Passan say something like that before. Why? Because it's the automatic truth. But getting back to what you're saying, these fans, they took it personal. They're taking it personal because of all the stuff that came out. And I want to ask you this. What
Hmm.
were your thoughts on the whole security issue?
Yeah, see, that was really interesting to me how like security like kicked his family out, family member out of the game. I don't know too much of the details that kind of went into it all, like maybe what happened, maybe what was said. But still, like if you're a player, you see and you hear that you're after the game, your family was escorted out of the game by security. You take that a little bit personal. Like that's
Yeah,
family. Regardless of what have happened, that's still family at the end of the day. I am one of your biggest players, right now. Besides like, Stanton and Judge, Soto was up there, the big three, the Bronx Bombers. That's what they are. And
yeah,
when it's family at the end of the day. You can't be, kicking out family out of a game, especially, when they come to see you play and perform at the highest level. So I bet he took that personal. And that's
yeah,
probably why he wanted that suite, so he could be able to have that sense of security, that meaning that like his family was going to be in one place, nothing would happen, and that's that.
yeah.
But yeah.
When I look at the security issue, the situation apparently happened in April because I
Hmm.
read an article on ESPN Plus that the situation happened in early April. So if I was in that situation with my family member, I would have immediately like talked to security, be like, "Hey, just recognize these familiar faces who comes to the ballpark, who
Hmm.
are in like the hundreds level or in the suite level. Just know their face next time." There was only one incident, so
Hmm.
in this case, it wasn't like they threw his family out the ballpark. They were just making security purposes. Security, they were risking their job, their life. You're in the area around 161st in the Bronx, New York. And when you hear something like that, it's embarrassing, but the security was doing their job. And
Right.
then you hear about the other story about his father was trying to deliver food to his son in the locker room. First of all, you're not getting past that locker room due to regulations of the MLB, due to the PED era. Back in the day, players' family members and friends, they were literally delivering their players, steroids or any types of things. So MLB put an awareness to that as to where players' family members are not allowed in the locker rooms. which is a major big deal in Major League Baseball. But in this scenario here, yeah, I get that it's a bad look. But at the same time, the way that Boris and Soto have like bashed the Yankee organization after signing with the Mets, that's why a lot of fans are taking this thing personal and they're saying to themselves as wow, you really were here for just the payday. You were never here for the dynasty or for the
Mhm.
lookup. And before you ask me another question here, I look at this as a blessing for the Yankees because at the end of the day, not only you have Soto off your books, you're able to go for whatever free agent you want to.
Yep.
Brian Cashman made it aware on MLB Tonight the other night that we are in the position to get whoever we want to get. And the only thing Hal Steinbrenner asked for during the free agency is bring the paperwork and checks to me. He's willing to do whatever it takes now. And then the battle of the billionaires between Cohen and Hal Steinbrenner. I know I'm speaking loud here because I'm a fan,
Yeah, no,
but
you're good. You're good.
I'm getting a lot of stuff up out my mind because I've just been obsessed this week, with
Mhm.
this whole situation. But when I look at the whole Steve Cohen and Hal Steinbrenner feud, it's not a feud and it's not a billionaire war. You had the New York Post saying that Cohen was going to outbid Hal Steinbrenner by $100 million. Yet Hal Steinbrenner led the entire process. Yankee fans are upset because not only you led the entire process, Soto's camp and Boris did not allow the Yankees to match. That's what people are not realizing.
Mhm. Listen, money talks at the end of the day, but I still think legacy is bigger though than money, especially if you're playing for an
Absolutely.
organization like the New York Yankees. You want to be in Monument Park. That should be every Yankees end goal in life. You want to be in center field in Monument Park. There should be no ifs, ands, or buts. Like that's just how it should be. I think with this whole Juan Soto situation, you're right. It's going to be eye-opening for the New York Yankees. They're freeing up a lot of money where they can now focus on maybe 3 to 4 players that could fill in that 760 million that they're willing to offer Juan Soto. And then they're going to build that team up to be better. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Yankees are going to go about it and then how they're going to come back stronger next season. As long as they get 3 to 4 good players that they can be given out, $100 million contracts to that can really set this team over the edge so that they can win another World Series.
Yes, and indeed, and when I look at plays that the Yankees need to go for, they just signed Max Fried. He became
Hmm.
the highest paid left-handed pitcher in baseball history. You don't know what the San Francisco Giants right now. There's rumors that they might get Corbin Burns, but
Hmm.
right now that deal is falling short. So maybe if the Yankees want to jump into that mix, they can automatically afford him at any time.
Right.
They might go after a guy like Alex Bregman. You're hearing so many rumors about Kyle Tucker and Cody Bellinger. So like there's a lot of players in the mix for the Yankees right now. And if they did re-sign Soto, yeah, they would have been able to sign Max Fried, but what way they done with the other money in
Right.
particular? And also the Yankees, they don't go by a salary cap. Look at the New York Mets. The Mets couldn't even barely afford Soto's contract. You know what people are not talking about here this
Hmm.
about George? The Mets had to um sign, not only sign, but they had to trade away their not only a couple prospects, but they had to trade away some ballparks to like get some money back in
Yep.
return. They had to sell some stuff just to complete the first 5 years of his contract. And then Mets fans are talking about, oh well, Cohen just made $200 million from stock the other day after getting Juan Soto. That doesn't mean nothing. Stock can go down any minute. Like, come on now.
The prices at that ballpark are going to be insane. You want to go get a hot dog? Have fun paying $20 for a hot dog or like 25 for a beer. Like, you know what I mean? The prices are going to be insane just because they're going to have to afford to pay them. I don't think Mets fans would complain too much because they're going to be getting some good return, from Juan Soto. But you look at like the New York sports market. You talked about it a little bit earlier. Odell Beckham Jr., Trae Young, Juan Soto, those are gonna the villains, right, of New York in that area right now. I would say Trae Young, I think he's still probably the most hated player to go play in New York. Especially what he did the other night, rolling the dice on the New York logo. I mean, how did you feel about that?
That whole scenario of the whole Trae Young fiasco,
Hmm.
he's been a villain since 2021 when he beat the Knicks in 5 games, especially in their home court, and what he's been doing to that franchise for the last 3 to 4 seasons. He's just exposing the Knicks right now, and that could be the Knicks' biggest threat in the first round of the playoffs if the Knicks face Trae Young. It's unbelievable what this guy does to the Knicks. It's like his team can be horrible for an entire season, but every time he versus the New York Knicks, there's something special about him. It's like when Reggie Miller used to step in Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
You knew it
Same
was going
thing.
to happen.
Yep. It's the same energy. I mean, I know you're a Lakers fan, but I had to ask because I know, from New York, some people that would probably, talk to you about how they feel about Trae Young, and you kind of get that vibe from them as well. I mean, the Lakers, though. I mean, LeBron out, that foot injury, nothing too
That ain't
serious.
no, that's not a foot injury, man. No, I'm joking. But that injury is he's been dealing with a lot of like injuries for the past couple seasons. This
Mhm.
guy, apparently had an Achilles injury just 2 years ago, and he had to go to another country just to get
Yeah.
treatment for at least 2 months. People forget
Hmm.
about that. Before it was during the Nuggets series back in before they versed the Nuggets. Sorry, the year they went to the Western Conference Finals. So that was 2023. And
Hmm.
before that, he was in another country for almost a month and a half trying to,
Yeah.
rehab. And he's been battling injuries for very long time. And do you think he's going to get traded? That's my question. There's a
I
lot of
don't think he'll
rumors
get
about that.
traded. I don't think he'll get traded. Um, I think LeBron's probably going to retire. I don't know. I feel like the right thing to do is he goes back to Cleveland and retires, plays for a year. That's
Mm.
my, go back home, retire, do it the right way. But with Bronny being, in the Lakers organization, I think that has, some say in it that he'll probably retire a Laker, just to kind of stay with Bronny out in LA. But kind of looking at what the Lakers doing, I know we talked a little bit about JJ Redick before, just like between us, and how you think he's doing as a head coach right now?
I always used to say in college, that's your twin because he's a Duke guy.
Yeah, you did.
But
You did.
JJ's doing a tremendous job right now. He
Mhm.
started the first 10 games of the season. He had a 7-3 record.
Mhm.
And now it's just been bad ever since to the point where they're doing comparisons between him and Darvin Ham. And I'm saying to myself, this guy has never coached before. You have to give him a
Right.
shot at least. Like, yeah, there's been this whole theory for years about coaches who've never coached before. They shouldn't deserve a chance. But he knows the game. I even said before he became the Lakers coach, not because of that podcast he had with
Mhm.
LeBron James, but he knows the detail of basketball. The Lakers,
Yes.
they're like top five in threes this year. People
Mhm.
forget. So it's not him, it's the players right now. And if Reddick can put this team on the edge as to what he's doing by breaking clipboards, man's broken at least 15 clipboards this year. So time will tell.
It will.
We're only in December right now.
No, plenty of basketball season left to be played. I mean, one sport that's almost wrapping up, we're getting into these conversations, football, NFL, New York Giants, projected number one overall pick. You thinking they're going to go Shador Sanders?
They have to go Shador Sanders. I think
Hmm.
they need a quarterback. There's no way like they're going to get Cam Ward. They have to get Shador Sanders. If they get the first pick, I'm going with Shador number one. This Giants organization has sucked for
Yep.
almost 10 years plus. And the fact that the New York Giants, excuse me, the New York Football Giants, as I say, the fact that this organization let Saquon Barkley walk,
Hmm.
gave Daniel Jones that money, shows what the Joe Shine era is and what Brian Dable represents. It's a poverty franchise. I'm
It is.
sorry.
Like, listen, you're talking to me. I don't like
It's
the
a
New York
poverty.
Giants. I don't, um, but you're absolutely right. Once they let Saquon walk away and they invested, they put all their eggs in one basket with Daniel Jones. They need to go to a quarterback. But, seeing what Shador Sanders been kind of tweeting out and been talking about being a Raider. Does that bother you a little bit? You think that's going to be kind of like Eli Manning, how he wanted to go to the Giants on draft day and didn't want to go to wherever he was going to be drafted to. So are you like skeptical that if Shador Sanders comes, he's going to want out because he doesn't want to be a New York Giant, he wants to be a Raider?
No, because he wants the New York spotlight. He wants to be in any spotlight. Vegas, that's a spotlight.
It is.
Giants, that's a spotlight. My prediction is this. I personally think that the New York Giants will go number one, which they are, right?
Mhm.
They're going to draft Shador, and my prediction is that they're going to trade whatever pick for 2026, their first their any do you remember what the Texans did 2 years ago when they went 4-5
Yep.
when they gave up their 2024 pick? I
Yes.
truly believe whoever's at number two, they're gonna give up that pick,
Hmm.
and the Giants are gonna go 1-2, and then they're gonna draft Travis Hunter. That's my prediction. Because if the Texans, you've seen it before.
Hmm. Hmm. I know
Like,
that. Yeah. So you
you've
don't think
seen it
Travis is going
before.
to go to New England?
But if it goes to New England, that's not going to happen. If New England goes number two, New England's not going to get that up because New England needs a wide receiver. They need
They do.
everything right now, and you know it.
They need offensive line and they need a wide receiver. But no, I think that the Patriots they're gonna take Travis Hunter. They'd be foolish not to, just because they need a wide receiver. Drake May's a great quarterback. He's the future for New England, and he's a phenomenal quarterback. I love watching him play every week.
You
And
didn't
but
ask me about one more thing though.
what
That's going on in New York. Come on now,
what's going on
four-time
here?
and four-time MVP. Come on now,
Four-time MVP. Who?
Aaron Rodgers. Well, you didn't like.
Um, Aaron Rodgers. I mean. Listen, that's little brother to the New England Patriots right there. I'm
I'll
not,
tell you.
Aaron Rodgers, the whole ordeal with the Jets and, with Rodgers, that's just interesting to me. He's going to stay in New York, but he's frustrated about how the team's being handled, especially coaching wise. I think they need to focus on the head coaching. They have the pieces to be a really decent team, but they're just underperforming because I don't think they have the right play callers for Aaron Rodgers. He's the one kind of calling
Yeah,
the shots here and there. They're going to be in his ear telling him plays. Rodgers doesn't want to do it. He doesn't think it's right. I mean, if I'm a coach, I'm listening to Aaron Rodgers. This is like you said, a
absolutely.
four-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, of course. If I'm a new head coach or interim head coach, I'm listening to Rodgers.
Yeah, same here. And Aaron Rodgers, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. And when I look at Rodgers, it's just sad what's going on with him right
Hmm.
now. He
It
tore
is.
his Achilles last year, and this is a guy that, he tries to make everyone better, and everyone wants to put this bad narrative about him that he's a selfish player. Robert Saleh was the main issue. Saleh didn't know how to do play calling on offense. And you look at what's going on with their OC and their DC right now, they don't know what they're doing. And if the Jets
Yep.
want to move on from Aaron Rodgers, they can do that. And me as a Giant fan, he literally said on Pat McAfee show, if I retire, it's in New York. I'm not
Hmm.
going nowhere else. And I truly believe that if the Jets cut ties with him, I would want to see the Giants get Aaron Rodgers. Why? Because if the Giants get Aaron Rodgers, and if the Giants can draft a quarterback in the first round, Aaron Rodgers can mentor that quarterback. Because we've
Hmm.
seen it time and time again, Tom Brady mentioned this, there's no more quarterbacks who are mentors no more. They let these quarterbacks just go right in and they just wind up fumbling the bag.
Yep. No, I absolutely agree with that point. I think that's actually really interesting. If they had Shador and Aaron Rodgers, that would be pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if that would happen because I don't think Shador has that personality. He has the ego where he wants to start right away. I don't think he'd want to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. I think that's the issue there.
I doubt that's the issue. I think, Deion Sanders, his father, I think personally, he's not going to be the coach of the New York Giants, by the way. The Giants are going to fire Dable, but I think Deion Sanders will tell his son, hey, not only were you at Jackson State, that's a black university, you
Hmm.
made it to college, like football, like you know, you were just playing in the Big 12. You made it to that stage, and now you are about to go into the NFL. People forget Shador Sanders was not a top prospect football name
Right.
just 3 years ago
Hmm.
until his father went to coach at Colorado, and look what he's done there. And people forget Tom Brady has mentored
Yes.
Shador Sanders. So that's why you've been hearing about this Raider news because Tom Brady's the owner there.
That's
But in my eyes, I think he could handle being on the bench for 1 to 2 seasons because he can learn from Aaron Rodgers or any other veteran quarterback
mhm.
in particular.
Learning from Brady, learning from Rodgers, I think that would build you to be a great quarterback in the National Football League. You have two of the best at the position ever, teaching you how to play football at a high level. I mean, that's a recipe for success right there. And you know, just kind of, you know, thinking of that, you know, your idea that you had that it could be Aaron Rodgers, you know, wearing giant blue. At least, hopefully, they're not wearing that 100-year uniform ever again. You know, they need to
Yeah,
put that out. But
yeah,
you know, having them
yeah.
there won't be too bad for Aaron Rodgers. That'll be very interesting to see if they do end up doing that, or if the Giants, you know, still have that first pick by the end of the season. You better hope they don't win any more football games.
Man, I better hope that you keep losing. I gotta hope that the Jaguars beat the Raiders in a couple weeks, man, because that's gonna be a lot. And shout out to my man Bill Belichick for getting that job at
No,
UNC,
yes,
man.
yes.
Shout out to him.
No, he deserves it. I think he's going to really build that program up at UNC. That'll be fun to watch. You know what I think about UNC. You know my thoughts on that Carolina Blue. Um, but I'm rooting for Bill Belichick. I think and him with Mike Lombardi being the GM too. I think they're going to really build up a really good program to make some noise in the ACC. You know, looking at the ACC this season. Florida State hasn't been playing well. Clemson's been doing good. You know, they're in the college football playoffs, but like other than that, like Florida State, they've underperformed this year. Georgia Tech's been playing pretty decent, Wake Forest as well. But yeah, having Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, you know, kind of just showing these young guys how to build and mold them into better football players for that next level. I think that's his whole goal at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And you know, the portal's gonna be looking crazy
Hmm.
once the college football championship ends, and also the recruiting process as well. That's gonna be very interesting. And I'm saying this, UNC, they're not gonna be top 10 next year, but
Oh,
maybe in 2 or 3 years you could probably see. Look at Colorado. Colorado
yeah.
started off slow, and the end of the season in the top 20. Maybe UNC can be in that type of ladder, what Colorado's doing right now. And everyone knows that Bill Belichick, his dream is to coach in the NFL again. I
Hmm.
think coaching in college football will give him a breather because not only his life is changing, he wants to be surrounded by, you know, where he started.
Yeah.
Like you were just fired by the New England Patriots. What can I do to make it a return back to NFL? Let me go back my old roots, start from here on scratch and move on and see what I can do now. That's his plan. I would personally do that.
Yeah, no, that's a good plan. I mean, yeah, that's a really good comparison that you made with Colorado because I agree. I think it's going to be the same aspect, right? Like you're going to have all these guys who went to Colorado because of Deion Sanders. It's going to be the same thing. All these players are going to leave to go to UNC to play for Bill Belichick, the greatest coach in football ever. So I think that's going to be the same mindset that these players are going to have. I want to play for Bill Belichick, the same as they had when they wanted to be like, I want to play for Deion Sanders. But I agree. I think it's going to be a few years, right? They're not going to be successful. The media is going to, you know, do what the media does and crap on Bill Belichick and UNC for not being successful that first season. But then once they build up that program and find their mojo, then they're going to be fine.
Yeah, and on top of that, when you look at Belichick, you know, this is the first time since 2000 he's not holding a general manager position. He'll be
Hmm.
able to focus as a coach.
Right.
So that will, you know, it's not going to put a lot of pressure on him, but it'll put relief because when you're a general manager, you're doing
Yeah.
a lot of recruiting. You know how many hours Bill Belichick probably missed with his family
Yeah.
due to being a general manager, having to travel place to face and doing all that stuff. Now I can just focus about being a coach and a family man now.
Yep. No, that's really all it is. I mean, especially in today's nature of college sports with NIL and everything like that. He has Lombardi to go handle all that business. The two of them, they can go recruit wherever they want to go and, go deal with that. But yeah, that's what the off season's for. The off season's for those recruiting, going to the house, going all in on a lot of those guys. So it'll be interesting to see the college football landscape next season, especially in the ACC.
And now UNC, they're not only their brand is up right now, they're going to be in at least like 5 or 6 primetime football games next
Of
year, to say
course.
the least.
Of
Say
course.
the
I mean,
least.
you're gonna have those Clemson UNC games on national TV, on ESPN or ABC, same thing, Hey, listen, if they go play Bama, that would be pretty cool to watch too. Because like, with Saban being from there and like Belichick and how close of a relationship they had, it'll just like I said, it'll be very interesting to see how they're gonna make the schedule next season for college football and all these primetime games.
Absolutely.
Well, Jay Hill, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for joining me on my podcast today, Halfway with Hathaway. Appreciate everything that you've done. Gonna be looking out for some tweets from all your posts that you've been talking about Juan Soto. So make sure to stay plugged in with that and appreciate everything today, man.
Thank you, George. Thank you for letting me be on this episode.
Yeah, of course.